last night? Yeah. How many fingers? We're good. We're good. So really glad to be here. I'm Gaurav Sanganee. I'm from Epista, Life Sciences, and I head up content for commercial and medical excellence.
I'm Claudia Amato, and I work in Zambon as a digital and omnichannel advisor.
And I'm Anna. I work at Novo Nordisk in our global customer engagement strategy team.
So wonderful. So we'll probably start with some contraband because Paul said we can't talk about modular content. So can we please have the survey question? Thank you. So how many of you are currently using modular content as your approach to achieving customer excellence? Okay. Feel free to vote below. Oh, okay. Wow. So far 100%. Oh, 7, 12. I'm not going to do this in real time. Okay. I'll give it a few more seconds. Okay. 5, 4, done. Okay, wonderful. So, Anna and Claudia, we have results of 68% yes and 37% no. Let's see if we can shift that a little bit towards the end of this session. So, what does good CX look like? So if I can start with you, Claudia.
Yes, I think yesterday we discussed a lot about customer experience and good example in general and in pharma. And I think if I need to give my definition of a good customer experience, I would start from an experience that is made by seamless interactions, of course, granting consistency among all the different touch points, online and offline. And this is possible only if you can have an integration, technical integration between the channels, which allow also to observe and collect as much as data as possible in order to understand effectively the preferences of your customer and deliver something that is valuable but also tailored to their needs. So if we jump outside of the pharma for a moment and we think about other industry, I was looking at the beauty industry, for example, and I found out that Sephora is doing really a great job with regards to customer experience strategy. They based their strategy mainly on 2 pillars, which are personalization and digital innovation. And thanks to these 2 things, they are able to grant a seamless shopping experience to their customers, which is both, of course, in the stores, but also online, in the websites and in the application. And they are able to do it, indeed, thanks to consistency across the messages among the face-to-face and the digital side, having integrated all the platforms that they have, so they can analyze every kind of activity that each customer is doing along the journey, and in this way they are able to provide them personalization. They are also using AI with respect to product recommendation, for example, or also to make diagnosis of their skincare and then suggest everything that is perfectly fitting the customer needs. On top of that, they are also working to continuously improve themselves by collecting feedback. So the voice of the customer is the closing the loop activity, let me say, in order to then start again, but in a more optimized way.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think there's some fans here of the beauty brand that you speak about.
I hope.
So over to you, Anna. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, a good customer experience, to me, is where you exceed your customers' expectations. And an example that I think my colleagues at Novo Nordisk are tired of me using is a company called Who Gives a Crap. Has anyone heard of them in the audience? Who Gives a Crap? Okay. It's a very random example to give because it's toilet paper. And you just think, like, how is toilet paper going to give you a good customer experience? This is a toilet paper subscription service. And essentially what they do is they deliver toilet paper that is responsibly packaged. There's no plastic. They deliver them individually wrapped in these very beautiful, fun colors. There's toilet jokes on all the wrapping. Like they make it incredibly fun. And you know, when they deliver it in this big cardboard box, they're like, this box is great as a cat mansion or a rocket ship or, you know, whatever. So the offline experience is really fun and interactive, and then digitally across all their channels, you can manage your subscription. So they'll send you a text message a few days before your delivery is about to be sent to say, do you want to delay this by a couple of days or weeks? Is this enough, etc.? So it's super customer friendly. It's not invasive. You're in full control of the entire sort of supply chain around this. And it manages to make something so mundane as toilet paper really fun and engaging, right? So, you know, that's a difficult job to do, and they really succeed at it. And it is true omnichannel, because across every single touch point, physical, online, you have an excellent experience that is completely integrated. And so obviously that's not what anything to do with pharma, but I think the lessons that you can take from that are really, do we understand this experience across brands, across touch points? Do we understand how it feels? Are we adding value? Do we exceed expectations? And so I think that's the most important thing to think about.
Absolutely. I think we saw an element of Netflix's AlphaGo, but we actually have to go right back to understanding why Netflix is so successful, because that's my example, and I'm going, well, actually, I don't know if any of you know this, but when you're watching 30 seconds of Netflix, it's picking up 300 data points on you, right? And from that, it's building a recommendation engine, so that's why you always enjoy that experience, and it is tailored to you. So for me, I think all of these examples actually can show how far we can go in pharma. So we've spoken about this, and you know, thank you for the example in beauty, and thank you for the toilet paper example. Why is it that it's still a fairy tale in pharma? Because if I was to play devil's advocate, and I guess I can, having worked for GSK and Novartis and BI, is that we've invested so much in this space, you know? This was like the old Omnichannel, right? But we kept on putting money, time, budget, things, etc. against it. But we're still quite unclear on the ROI, certainly at a leadership level, as, you know, does CX drive that ROI? And things like the MLR burden hasn't really shifted for us to really get to the point of, you know, being able to deliver outstanding CX. So I really wanted to say, well, is it just a fairy tale? Are we all just kind of sitting here going, Netflix, it's nice, but we're never getting there? You know? What are your thoughts on that first, Claudia, and then maybe Anna?
I think, well, we can arrive there, but there are many things that we need to work on. As we said before, customer experience is not made just by content or just by single pieces of information. It's the combination of different points, starting from data, observing the insights, then going into action, working on the integration between the tech system, and then listening again to the voice of customers. So I think, of course, it's not easy. It's a journey. For example, in our case, we are starting this journey, but there are many milestones that we need still to accomplish.
Okay, wonderful. And Anna, obviously this is the hat trick, and we're not allowed to talk about football, but this is Novo for the third time on stage. So would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, sure. And I have cheated. This is a panel debate, but I brought slides, sorry. It's just to say, actually, I'll nick that from you. So we obviously want to be better in CX, but I think as an organization such as ours, we are absolutely enormous. And there have been several speakers from Novo Nordisk here today, and we're all talking about completely different projects, right? Because there's so much going on. And so one of the things that we started doing almost a year ago was saying, are we even aligned across all of our departments on good customer experience? Do we know what that looks like, and do we agree internally? So we actually started defining our customer experience ambitions, right? And actually, I'll stand up for this to get out your way here. And one of the things that we did was we did loads of data collection. So we conducted a lot of interviews, we sent surveys out, and this was across corporate strategy, operations, our affiliates, our regions, medical affairs, and also data and IT. So really, really tried to sort of span the gamut here. And what we then came out of that was trying to build this shared ambition. So we held some workshops. The initial workshop was for us to compile all of the use cases. So I think we had 138 use cases across the business for how we wanted to deliver better customer experience. And then we essentially grouped these and said, okay, what are the component features of improving customer experience in our organization? And I just want to say this is for HCPs. We focused on HCPs for this one. Patients is a different conversation. And then the third thing we did was create a recommendation and a roadmap. And it was essentially saying, okay, this is where we are today. This is what, if we want to be the Netflix of pharma, if we want to be who gives a crap, how do we get from where we are today to where we want to be? What does that roadmap look like? And one of the things that we also aligned on, and this was very happy for us because we actually agreed on a lot of things across the organization, was that we really want to be able to identify customer needs and intent, right? So one of the things that Netflix does is it's tagging every other second in what you're watching, and not just against what's happening in the scene, but also what type of characters. Is it a vindictive friend? Is it all kinds of, like, the tagging features of Netflix are crazy. Because what they then understand is if you abandon that show, if you stop watching, they try and map back your intent to say, why was it that they suddenly didn't want to watch this anymore? Or if you binged an entire series in a night, what was it about that series that you really liked, right? So they're trying to understand customer needs and intent. Also segmentation. We want segmentation to be dynamic. So what we see is that every year, people pay loads and loads of money to do loads and loads of market research and gather all this information, and then they make some personas, and then in a year's time, they're going to do it again. Right, and we just have this ever-evolving cycle. Whereas what you can do, and as lots of people are mentioning a CDP, something that a CDP can do, is actually cluster your audiences based on certain factors, right? And then you say, okay, well, we have 4 main types of customers with unique content needs, and then your algorithm in 6 months might say, actually, now there's 5 distinct clusters, so you need to change your strategy. So your data is telling you insights about what kind of segmentation strategy you should have. And that's evolving over time. The other thing is interactions with content should influence the journey. So instead of having a really static journey of like first they get that, then they get this, then we're going to talk to them about that, etc. Whatever they engage with should inform what the next thing is that they do, right? And we've heard a lot about next best action models, but what does that look like across brand journeys, not just isolated to individual touchpoints? And finally, brand agnostic and customer-centric approach. So again, what does that customer experience look like to them of Novo Nordisk, not just of our individual brands, right? And what we then agreed was our ambition and our approach. But there were 3 main levers, and Nicholas and Mike mentioned this very briefly in their presentations. But we identified that we need better customer data, so we need to be able to do insights triangulation about our customers, enrich the profiling, do really granular segmentation. Channel data, you need to understand which channels are the right ones for our customers at which time, so optimization, and also what does the mix evolve like. Every affiliate has a slightly different channel mix. And then content, so personalization, reuse, volume. If you're really going to do hyper-personalization, I've seen several people say n equals 1. It's a lot of content. You need a lot of content to be able to do that, right? And then tagging, which I won't talk about because you all heard the session earlier. So that's essentially the start to our journey, and we now have a defined roadmap of how we want to get to that vision that we shared.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for sharing, and hopefully that's useful to everyone here. So, how do we get to our happily ever after, I guess, is you're seeing a theme develop here, right? So, how do we get to our happily ever after, Claudia?
Well, just adding some comments to what Anna just presented. In Zambon, maybe we are some step back, some step behind compared to Novo, which is doing a lot of things. But we also started this journey, this roadmap towards a more customer-centric approach, which has a lot of milestones. We started by updating our go-to-market model in order to really switch the focus from the brand toward the customer, but that then had an impact on the organization, so we upskilled our organization, mainly the marketing team, having dedicated resources to customer engagement, but then also to content, in order to be able to arrive at the end point where we can achieve the happily ever after. I think that there are some areas where we made some improvements, some small steps compared to last year. We defined as well our vision with regards to customer engagement. So together with the markets, we co-designed our manifesto, our customer engagement mission. And this is then continuing with cascading these new guidelines with the local markets from global to local in order to then, from next year, move finally from the brand plans to the customer plan and have indeed a 360 overview, not just vertical brand, but more a matrix kind of visibility. In some market, we also are experiencing and piloting something new, for example, the voice of the customer thing. And I think we are learning a lot, but it's just the start. So we could arrive at, I hope, at an happily ever after, but we need the commitment of all the teams, cross-functional collaboration, and then, yes, just action. So.
Yeah, and I think, I think it was Mernaz who spoke to this in Croatia. It is about humans as well, right? Like, it is about taking people on this journey, and I think that's the one thing that is sort of resonating around all of these AI discussions that we're having, that there is a real need to, upskill, to train, retrain people to go on this journey with us. But I'll also turn around and say there is significant lack of sort of that last mile delivery. When that strategy becomes that tactical plan and then the execution. I mean, we heard from the previous panel that it can take up to 9 months to get a piece of content out. That's always going to be a challenge. But what can we do about, improving those things? And I think it's really worthwhile thinking before we jump to AI, are there some brilliant basics that we need to really work at? But we did promise you some next generational content management. And I think... Again, I'm going to hand this over to Anna because we like Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, that whole piece about going from the strategy to the tactics, to me, is very much about understanding how you use data, both content data, customer data, channel data. And the classic example that everyone uses is Amazon. But the question is why, right? You hear a lot about next best action. And you hear a lot about recommendation engines, but that's not one thing. There are lots and lots of different ways to build a recommendation engine. There's lots of logic that you can use to underpin it. So, for example, Amazon uses at least 5 different recommendation engines as part of their offering. So they use item-based filtering, which is your top picks example here. They use user-based filtering, so other users like you bought this. So recommendations both based on types of products that look like a product that you're interested in, and other customers like you, right? That's 2 different logic sets that they're using to make recommendations. They also have a bandit-based algorithm. They also have a picker algorithm that says we have all these different algorithms to guess your intent and understand what it is that you're looking for. And then that algorithm picks the right algorithm to then drive what it is. So for example, if it looks like you're only looking at products that can be delivered tomorrow with Amazon Prime, they figured out, okay, you're probably late buying a birthday gift for your wife or whatever it is, right? And time is of the essence. Whereas another browser may be looking at those 5-star reviews, and they're really, really interested in that quality, right? So this algorithm is trying to understand which of these factors is driving your intent for what you want to buy, and then it will optimize using that type of algorithm, right? So the reason Amazon is always used as this star example of a great customer experience is because they don't just have one next best action algorithm, they don't have one recommendation engine, they have a whole slew of them, and they are using them to try and give you, the customer, what you want as quickly and efficiently as possible and exceed your expectations.
100%, and I think if you look at the evolution as well, now with Rufus, I don't know if you've heard of Rufus AI, they've integrated their first chatbot. And I think Amazon might be the first one to actually monetize this technology because they are very, very good at the first mover advantage. I guess, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the Amazon example before we kind of wrap up here?
No, I think just what Anna just said. So data, use data at the maximum extent. So it's very important to analyze every information that we can collect and observe about our customers to then be able to give them a good experience.
Wonderful. So I guess the challenge to everybody here is to be different and dare to be different. And I think, Anna, you've spoken very eloquently to the Amazon example just now, that every day they try to be different, they try and change that personalization. And Claudia, you know, your first example, I think, talks to everything that my wife wants to buy, right? Because she gets one thing and then she wants the rest. But in terms of, you know, if there were sort of key takeaways, I think great customer experience is going to be built on consistency and quality. I think there are some real wins that we can have in terms of getting the brilliant basics right. Like, do you have the correct taxonomy? Do you have the correct data treatment? Do you have the correct, you know, governance? Do you have those things in place? And I guess, you know, the challenge is always back to you. What are you going to do when you go out of this room that's different? And, you know, how do you dare to be different? So maybe first Anna and then Claudia.
Yeah. One thing that I think, you know, we're talking a lot about data and algorithms, but at the end of the day, if you're measuring how well your customers engage and what they think, you have a voice of customer feedback loop. One thing that I think we are increasingly going to learn more and more is that HCPs don't care about our commercial content. And Andrew, the cardiologist that was on stage earlier, said as much, like, stop telling me about all your brands. I didn't give you consent to just tell me about all this stuff. What we're going to learn increasingly through monitoring our customers' behavior and their feedback is they want transactional value, right? They want something that we can give them that is going to be useful in their day-to-day lives. Can they look up whether one of their patients is eligible for a clinical trial? Can they order more leaflets for their practice? You know, what are these really tangible things? And I spoke to someone at Takeda who said they have a very similar mindset here. That's a very different style to how we've been used to operating, right? Scientific content is what they want, and transactional value. And so that's where we're trying to sort of dare to be different, is not only use data really sensibly and monitor our customers, but also notice and listen, what do they actually want? What is this data actually telling us about what they want? And take that customer-centric view instead of brand-centric.
Love that. And Claudia?
Active listening, yes. But I think from a more internal perspective, I think in order to do this, it's really important to structurize internally the processes, a clear governance, and the baseline taxonomy, as you were saying. Because if you don't know exactly which are the processes, which are the role, responsibility internally of every person that is working at these activities, it will be then very difficult to put in action what you were saying before, so to really provide something valuable to the customer. So I think I would strengthen the internal part in this moment, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, what we've seen is that there is huge opportunity here for Pharma to get involved. It's not a fairy tale because Novo Nordisk and other companies are on that journey and they have started. But I think, in the theme of fairy tales and giveaways, if you would like to just scan that QR code, this brings us to our fairy tale. It is a white paper. We're talking about kings, emperors, and vagabonds, and somehow it relates to content and automation. So it's up to you. Choose the same old story or start the next generational chapter. Thank you.
Thank you.